You don't have to wait until the axe falls and you're truly under the gun and you have no choice but to reach out for God or to rely on God with persistence and with consistence and with commitment. You can do it under less stressful conditions. But it will seem to be harder in a way, because you will seem to have the opportunity to continue to live without doing it and not suffer too much. Continuing, holding error clearly in mind and protecting what it has made real, the ego proceeds to the next step in its thought system, that error is real and truth is error. Well, God didn't really mean for me to be constantly yielding to Him. God gave me free will, and He meant for me to practice free will and to learn how to practice it well. God gave me the capacity to be independent from Him in order to learn how to be like Him on my own. And so it makes something utterly insane a fundamental of sanity, and justifies it by saying that was what God intended. But if you want to learn to be like God, you need to yield into God. Not so that you can, by virtue of being an independent thing that yielded into your Father's arms, learned to be like Him, but because you yielded into Him by abandoning a sense of separateness from Him, and let His mind be in you. And the question comes up again, how do I do that? Well, you do it by desiring to have the experience and not abandoning the desire. Persisting in it. There's no simpler way I can put it. And like I said, when it comes right down to a trial in your experience, you may finally find yourself willing to provide that kind of persistent, consistent intent with commitment. And whenever anyone has done that, they have found themselves being transformed. They say, I went through a catharsis. You would not believe what happened to me. I'll be glad to tell you, though, and you tell them, and everyone else catches the spirit of it and recognizes the truth of it and is inspired by it. But oh, God, let's hope you don't have another catharsis. You see, it was a wonderful experience, but I wouldn't want to stay in the middle of it. Where I was constantly being transformed. But that is what you want. And that is what you need. again. Holding error clearly in mind and protecting what it has made real, the ego proceeds to the next step in its thought system. That error is real and truth is error. Now continuing, the ego makes no attempt to understand this, and it is clearly not understandable. But the ego does make every attempt to demonstrate it, and this it does constantly. You've seen people, they get their mind set on a thing, whether it makes sense or not, whether it's intelligent or not. They know it's true, and they're going to push through come hell or high water. And no matter how much intelligent reasoning is shared with them, they will not abandon their focus on their goal. And they see all expressions of help as a lack of respect of them. And they will determine that all of these other things that are being said are just your opinion. Well, that's just your opinion. Completely overlooking the fact that they're basing their actions on their opinion and not their experience of truth. And if you try to point that out to them, heaven help you. Continuing, analyzing to attack meaning, the ego does succeed in overlooking it and is left with a series of fragmented perceptions which it unifies on behalf of itself. Somebody says to them, "What you're saying doesn't make sense." "Oh, well, it makes sense to me. And that's all that matters. It's my world. That it doesn't make sense to you is, well, that's your reality. So bug off." Now, I'm speaking of those who are more aggressively into this, but you all do it in one way or another with little things, like how the office ought to be arranged, or how the file should be kept in the filing cabinet when someone else is expressing a different idea. Well, that's just your opinion. This works for me. Well, but it doesn't work for the whole office. Well, nobody appreciates the filing system that I'm using. If everybody appreciated it, they would find that it really did work well for them. No one wants to understand the simplicity of the way I have it set up, you see. Again, analyzing to attack meaning, the ego does succeed in overlooking it and is left with a series of fragmented perceptions which it unifies on behalf of itself. Of course, not on behalf of anyone else. This then becomes what? The universe it perceives. It's my reality. And it is this universe which, in turn, becomes its demonstration of its own reality. If you, or if an ego, does not have its own unique thoughts, which it can act out and demonstrate the so-called intelligence of, it has done nothing to make its mark in the world. It has done nothing to demonstrate its presence. And so it is essential for the ego to do something on its own and cause others to recognize it in order to secure its so-called existence as something actual. Now, mind you, this ego is just a picture you are employing about yourself. But the you that is employing it is far greater than the concept of yourself. The you that is employing it is the ultimate, the Christ, having forgotten who he or she is because of the fun of trying to do the impossible, to demonstrate a self-made existence, you see, and to prove that you in your own right are something. And that's how you are hooked. That's how you become addicted to independence and illusion. Do not underestimate the appeal of the ego's demonstrations to those who would listen. Selective perception chooses its witnesses carefully, and its witnesses are consistent. The case for insanity is strong to the insane. For reasoning ends at its beginning, and no thought system transcends its source. Reasoning ends at its beginning, and no thought system transcends its source. That's rather like saying that if you are writing out an equation on the blackboard that takes up 8 or 10 rows, and in the first couple of sets of equations there's an error, that error will be reflected in everything else that follows, and the equation will never be able to transcend the error. You see? What's the fundamental error? The fundamental error is that you're something in your own right. Who, you say, God created that way for your own fulfillment and your own development and your own growth. And therefore, you see, and right now what has been said so far has an error in it, is erroneous. So whatever follows after and therefore will not be able to transcend that. And of course what follows is that you are going to devote your life to fulfilling the Father's intent. You are going to be the best damned self-made person that ever existed. And you're going to make your parents proud. Because of course your parents taught you. You don't want to be dependent upon society. You don't want to be on welfare. You want to be respectable, don't you? Which of course the child hears as, you want me to see you as respectable, right? You want to be respectable. So, man, oh man, you don't waste a moment. You don't waste a moment checking in with God anymore. Because that's not what God put you here for. God put you here for the purpose of ignoring Him and taking the tools that He gave you to be on your own and make something of yourself. That's the fundamental mistake in the equation. And you correct the fundamental mistake in the equation by approaching each event in your day, every conscious awareness of things, with the Father, or with the Holy Spirit, or with your guide, with one who is awake and will not be fooled by all the tricky little techniques you have for finagling jewels of wisdom that you can then use to be a better independent entity. You need to choose to be together with, not alone, joined, not isolated. And to the best of your ability, maintain this as you go through the day. It's good to have a friend. It's good not to be alone. It's good to be working with someone who constantly sees the excellence of you and therefore is constantly confirming to you that which is in your best interest, and that which, if you pay attention to it, moves you into your sanity, which is always an impactful and awesome experience. Again, the case for insanity is strong to the insane, for reasoning ends at its beginning, and no thought system transcends its source. Yet reasoning without meaning cannot demonstrate anything, and those who are convinced by it must be deluded. Can the ego teach truly when it overlooks truth? Can you experience truly when you're looking at things without the perspective of a companion who sees it as it truly is? Can it, the ego, perceive what it has denied? Its witnesses do attest to its denial, but hardly to what it has denied. Yeah, man, you're on the right track. Yeah, man, go for it. Do it. I want to do it too, but you do it. You do it first. Do it, you see. Do it, and do it successfully, so that I won't have to look at the fact that my good has already been done to me. My good has already been given to me. My good is already mine without my having to lift a finger in order to deserve it. Fulfillment is the law of my being. Yeah, man, but you're just being a kept person. You're not being anything yourself. How can you respect yourself? You see, the temptation. You are constantly tempted by the promise of worth that will become yours when you have done well. And if you accept that premise, whatever follows cannot transcend the flaw in that premise. The ego looks straight at the Father and does not see him, for it, the ego, has denied his Son. Every practice of authority, every practice of independence is a denial of what you are. No, I'm not the Son of God. I am a creation of God, which God has set into place to become something. And He's given me all the tools to do it, and I'm going to do the best job anyone's ever done, you see. It overlooks the Son of God that you are. It distracts you from the Son of God that you are. And it appeals to a perverted sense of arrogance that makes you feel like going for it instead of saying, wait a minute. There is another way to look at this that's true. And I am going to choose to stay with what is true. Or I am choosing to return to what is true. And I'm going to become still. And I'm going to turn within to that place of excellence in me. I'm going to turn within toward the Holy Spirit, my right mind, so that I might be reminded of my true sonship or daughtership as the direct expression of God, so that I might experience God right here where I am, and the fulfillment that I am told I will experience if I do that. Now, mind you, we've been talking about the ego and the characteristics of the ego, the dynamics of the ego, and we've related it to stuff that goes on in your mind. And I've pointed out that it's stuff that doesn't need to go on in your mind, and it is stuff that it's not your birthright to be experiencing as the daily jumble of ideas that fill your mind. So it might sound as though I'm talking about you really messed up people. And I'm not. It is important to know that you are not your ego, even though you may be playing with its dynamics. And because at this moment you are the Christ, having forgotten who you are, because you've been distracted by this mental strategy, this means of somehow creating for yourself an experience of independence. You can abandon that strategy because you are the Christ. You are not the ego. And so I am speaking to that in you which is real, that in you which is true. I'm appealing to it so that you will perhaps choose to be out from that vantage point a little more consistently each day, so as to break the habit of isolation. And the best way to do it is to just constantly be asking, God, what's going on right there with that lady? God, what's going on right there with that man? God, what's going on there with that child? God, what's the divine meaning of this tree or this plant? constantly expressing curiosity to understand, and I'm going to use that word carefully, to have an experience of the meaning of those things that goes beyond my best imaginations, my best concepts, and my pet theories. I want to see more than I'm seeing. I want to see without the impediments of the flaws in the beginning of my equations. You see? Because there's fulfillment in front of you that you're not seeing. And there's no justifiable reason for you not to be seeing it. The power of the universe, the power of the authority of God, stands behind your experiencing it. So bring a little willingness, but bring it consistently. Bring it persistently. Even if you do it with a light touch, you don't have to do it with a vengeance. Just do it persistently, consistently, with the element of joyous curiosity. I know this isn't really the fun part of the course. But it's essential to look at the reality of the way the game works. In order to be able to say, I think I don't want to persist in this game. I think I do not want to persist in this strategy. I think I would like to try something else. Because the minute you begin to do that with some commitment, the power of the authority of God stands ready to reveal to you what you've been looking at and not seeing. God is on your side. Truly. And you don't have to earn the right to have His gift. You only have to bring a little willingness, persistently, consistently, with commitment. Okay. I look forward to being with you next week.